In this lesson, we're going to discuss some storage features. Now, cloud storage is a type of data storage where the data is stored on remote servers that can be accessed over the internet. This type of storage allows users to access their data from anywhere and on any device, and it makes it a convenient and cost-effective solution for both businesses and individuals. Now, there are several features that make cloud storage even more powerful, including compression, deduplication, capacity on demand, and encryption. Let's take a look at each of these. First, we have compression. Now, compression is a feature that reduces the size of a file or data set and makes it easier for us to store and transfer that data. This is done by removing redundant information from the data and reducing the overall size of the file. For example, if I have a 10 gigabyte video file that's being compressed down to only 5 gigabytes in size, that means it's going to take up less than half of the space on the hard drive or in the cloud, and this also gives me more storage capacity and faster transfer times because the file is much smaller. Now, really the biggest advantages of using compression is that it can save you money on storage costs because it's a smaller file, as well as has the ability to transfer data faster and more efficiently because, again, that file is smaller. However, there are disadvantages to compression as well. For example, compression can take more processing power to compress and decompress that data, which then slows down the overall process. In addition to this, you can also lose some of the quality associated with that data. For example, if you're looking at an image, audio, or video file, you can actually have a reduction in quality when you compress that data. Second, we have deduplication. Now, deduplication is a feature that eliminates duplicate copies of data and therefore reduces the amount of storage space that's needed. Now, this is done by identifying and removing identical copies of data and leaving only one copy of that data being stored on a given storage device or cloud storage system. For example, if a company has multiple employees who are storing the same document in the cloud, deduplication will remove all the duplicate copies and leave only one copy of that document stored. So, let's say that original file was 10 gigabytes in size and contained 4 different copies of the same data. Well, if we deduplicated that, we would reduce that 10 gigabyte file all the way down to 2.5 gigabytes of storage space being required because we've now removed all the duplicate information. Now, the big advantage of deduplication is that it reduces the amount of storage space required, and therefore, it greatly reduces your storage costs. Deduplication can also make the data transfer faster and more efficient because you're only having to move one copy of that file back and forth instead of multiple copies when you're doing backups and transfer of that data across the network. However, there is a disadvantage to deduplication, and it's that it takes more processing power to identify and remove all that duplicate data from your systems, so keep that in mind too. The third feature we have is known as capacity on demand. Now, capacity on demand is a feature that allows users to increase or decrease the amount of storage space they need as their data storage needs change. Capacity on demand is linked closely to the scalability and elasticity of your organization's cloud-based storage solutions. This can be done by purchasing additional storage space as needed or releasing unused storage space back into that cloud resource pool. For example, a company that experiences a spike in data storage will need to quickly and easily purchase additional storage in the cloud rather than having to invest in expensive new hardware. Now, one of the big advantages of using capacity on demand is that it can save you on costs because you're only paying for the storage you actually need instead of spending large amounts of money upfront on a given piece of hardware. Now, capacity on demand can also become more flexible and scalable and allows us to adapt to changing storage needs by, again, bringing on more capacity as we need it. Now, there is one big drawback or disadvantage to capacity on demand, and that's that it becomes more expensive over time, and this is because users start paying for all the storage they're adding. And so as you're adding additional storage, you have to pay for that. And so you can bring up large storage bills if you're not careful when you're using capacity on demand. Now, the fourth feature we have is known as encryption. Now, encryption is a feature that protects the data stored in the cloud by converting it into a code that can only be deciphered by somebody who has the correct key. This feature is often used to protect sensitive data, such as personal information, financial data, or cardholder data. For example, a file that contains personal information could be encrypted to protect that data from being accessed by unauthorized users. The big advantage of encryption is that it provides an extra layer of security for the data being stored in the cloud. However, the disadvantage of using encryption is that it can slow down the process of accessing your files because it takes time to decrypt the file before you can actually read the contents of it. So, remember, when it comes to cloud storage is a powerful and flexible solution for storing all of your data. It has lots of different features, including compression, deduplication, capacity on demand, and encryption that makes your cloud storage even more powerful by reducing your storage costs, increasing your efficiency, and providing you with more flexibility. Each feature does have its own advantages and disadvantages, but when we use them all together, we can greatly enhance the overall effectiveness of our cloud storage capabilities. As the technology for cloud storage continues to evolve and improve, it'll continue to become more powerful and cost effective for both businesses and individuals.